Happy Homebrew Wednesday, guys. We're here with Jim Downing from Buckeye Brewcraft. It is a local homebrew shop that's near me. Get most of my supplies from him. And he has agreed to let us do our tasting here for the Adjunct grain experiment that you guys remember from a few episodes back. And so, how long have you had the store here, Jim?
We're just 6 months old, actually.
Okay. And how's the acceptance been? Like, are you seeing a lot of homebrewers?
Oh, yeah. Westerville apparently is no longer dry.
Okay.
Their business has been good. There's been plenty of people coming in from Westerville, from all over Columbus and beyond. The store has found its legs and is taking off. And thanks for coming out here.
Absolutely. So, what's your background with homebrewing? I mean, have you done it for a long time, or what got you started?
I've been homebrewing for about 6.5 years now. I started it as a hobby. I was in the film industry doing lighting all over the place, and you know, took it up because a buddy of mine got me started doing it. I'm out of Dayton, so my store that I went to was a place called Brewtensils, and it's honestly, I think, one of the best homebrew stores around, and that's what I'm modeling this store after. And we're doing a pretty good job. I got a little bit to go to catch up with them, but we're going to leave them in the dust by the time it's done.
Very good, awesome. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into the tasting, and we got some folks that we kind of throw a little thing out on Facebook to get some people out here. So we got some folks that came out tonight that are going to help us kind of tell you what happened with the experiment. I can tell you that I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see. I've never done anything like it before, but I think that the experiment is worthwhile, and I hope you guys learn something from it and maybe make some adjustments to some of your darker beers with the adjunct grains and benefit from it, and make some different beers, some more interesting beers. So with that, let's go tasting.
I'm excited.
The first beer we'll go ahead and try, I think probably we'll start from, I tasted it with my wife today, and I think it was interesting the way we did it. We did it with just your normal grain bill, the way that it's done has been done for a long time. So we'll start with the normally brewed batch where you got all your adjunct grains in the mash for an hour, and then mash out and everything. So, you know, do it. There's mine there. Okay, very good. So it was actually supposed to be a robust porter, but some of the gravities came in a little bit low. But give it a taste, see what you think. It's definitely.
Can I have some more?
Yeah, you're not done with that yet.
I sure want to try.
But it definitely, you definitely pick up all those roasted grains, the black patent, the roasted barley. There's some Crystal 80 in there. But something that is really interesting about it, I mean, you pick up some astringency. You know, I mean, you really do. In my opinion, I mean, there's a fair amount of hops in it, but you pick up some astringency from the grains, you know. But
what hops did you use?
I actually used, it was Willamette for the hops. And you don't really pick up a lot of hop character, which porters really aren't known for much hop character anyways. But
I would have said this was a stout. If you wouldn't have told me, if you wouldn't have said porter.
Yeah, but stout has a little bit of different flavor to it. I mean, do you guys think it tastes like a porter? I guess that's the question.
Robust porter, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little thinner body.
Yeah. Yeah. And that probably has to do with the gravity.
It is close to a stout, but you know, because yeah, I think robust porter really sums it up. It has a lot of stouty character, but. Right.
Well, that comes from the roasted barley and I think the black patent. One something that most of your stouts don't have in them is that black patent malt. So then this afternoon we went from this extreme all the way to the grains that were cold steeped. Really interesting. So we'll do that next, and then we'll hit the middle one last, which seemed to be a really interesting play with the flavors.
And the middle one was where you put the grains in.
At the end of the mash, yeah, like after I had mashed for 60 minutes.
I gotcha.
I put the adjunct grains in, brought it up to mash out temperature, and then basically, you know, pulled the bag out. squeezed it some, not as much as I should.
How long from when you put the grains in to when you fold them out?
It was probably about 15 minutes to ramp up, something like that, somewhere around the neighborhood. Yeah, I was watching a podcast with Gordon Strong, which he lives actually here in Ohio, and he's a Grandmaster BJCP judge, and Brad Smith, which is the creator of Beer Smith software, which is the software that I use. And they were talking about adding the grains, and Gordon was like, there's no reason to steep your dark grains for 60 minutes. I mean, it's kind of like, it's almost akin to coffee. You know, when coffee's fresh brewed, it's probably the best. You know, you grab a hold of a pot that's been sitting there for an hour, 2 hours, what is it like? It's acid. I mean, it's really astringent and acid. So, you know, that was kind of the idea behind, hey, don't put your adjunct grains in the mash where they have that hot water on them for a whole hour or more. Put them in at the end of the mash. Or, he didn't say anything about cold steeping, I don't think, but that's something that I kind of thought of just to take it a little bit further. I heard of some people doing that, so. Taste up? You guys already tasted it. It has kind of a similar taste to the first one, but
More complex flavors. More layers.
Big discussion on this.
you almost,
More bitterness to it.
well, you're probably picking up the hop bitterness then. Like the astringency from the grains is not really blowing the hop bitterness away, I don't think. You get a lot of the flavor still of like the original base beer, but you're not getting as much astringency from the dark grains.
First one better.
Do you? Okay. And that's, you know.
I mean, everyone's taste is different, but
Right.
for me,
Right. Now here's the interesting part is that's why I did that, because it's like the second one I think is a real nice balance between the two, where you have a little bit of astringency and the malts and the hops kind of play better together.
Now, what's the difference in this one?
The first one was all the adjunct grains in the mash. The second was cold steep. I actually crushed the grains and then put cold water and put them in the fridge for 24 hours. And then this one, I mashed the grains, put the adjunct grains in at the end of that mash. So after having the pale malt in the mash for 60 minutes, I put then all my adjunct grains, my crystal, my roasted barley, and the black pattern in there after that. So basically, all those grains that could create the bitterness went in the end of the mash, rather than at the beginning of the mash, or not in the mash at all. And the cold steep, when I actually didn't add that liquid until the last 15 minutes of the boil, just to sanitize it. That was all I did with that. Yeah, but you can definitely. This one is kind of a middle of the road between the two of them. I mean, I think, I don't know, whatever, you know, tell me
for
what you
my
guys think.
taste, like one thing I noticed big, and this is just because I love stouts, the green lot. I pick up a lot more of the coffee and roastiness, even in the smell of this wine and the taste. And that's what turns a lot of people that don't like dark beers, that's exactly what turns them off.
Right.
That's not as prevalent to me at all. I mean, they're really different.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's almost kind of in between the two, I think anyways, as far as the flavor and everything. But I think it was a worthwhile experiment as far, you know, trying to see, you know, maybe, you know, I thought when I tasted them today, I thought a good possibility for this would be doing a brown ale and introducing some darker, more roastier malts, but doing the, you know, either the cold steeping or the late addition. And then you're going to pick up some subtle flavors of that, but still have the same, you know, subtle flavors, but add a little more complexity to your brown ale. And maybe even you do part of your dark grains, like you do your crystal grains or something like that, your normal mash, and then you add, you know, like maybe some chocolate or roasted malt or something like that in at the end of the mash, just to create something a little different that somebody hasn't done before.
Which one would you not do again? Which one would you do again?
I think I probably would not do the cold steep one again, just because I think the flavors are real thin, but I don't know, you know, I think a lot of it is lack of that astringency from those grains. And I think by style, when you're tasting that beer, you're looking for that.
Like, yeah.
you're looking for that astringency because you're used to that with that style. So, you know, that's one of the things that it just seemed thin and not a lot of flavor to me. I mean, it picked up a lot of color, but not a lot of flavor from it.
I think I like the third one the best.
Do you?
Yes. This is the most robust color, for sure. But I like it with a little less of the astringency. Well, you can see it in the head.
Yeah, in the head you can even tell, you can even see the color.
This is a brown
difference.
head, that's a, tan.
Yep, absolutely.
I think you're gonna have plenty of the cold sleep. I think that's the.
Well, that's one my wife likes the best, so she won't be
Really?
displeased about that.
Really?
She does, yeah.
Surprising.
I
Yeah.
think she's going soft on us more.
I like the second one best. I like the
Yeah.
cold steep best. I like that sourness.
Mm-hmm. So in summary, you said you liked the cold steep one better because you
Yes.
kind of had some kind of sourness
I
to
like
it.
the sourness.
How about you, Phil? You like the first one? Okay. That was what you expected out of a porter. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, the first one.
First one?
Just the chocolate note, and that's what I expect out of a porter.
I got you. Okay, I got you. Mark, you like the first one,
First
so.
one, same thing, chocolate, coffee, stringency.
Yep.
I like the first one.
Like the first one? Okay. How about you, Jim? You still undecided?
Well, I think the first one is definitely, the beer.
Sure.
The class.
Right.
That's the beer. I'm kind of torn between that one and the third one now. But now that I've had just another taste, I think I'm going to change that because I just got that final little, you definitely have the chocolatey and coffee
Sure.
notes
Yep.
are a lot more prevalent.
Right?
This is nice and smooth, but I think you lose too much of the character.
Yeah.
Too much of the flavor.
Is this your third
It's just
one?
not there, yeah.
Okay.
And
The
and
second
that's.
one just didn't do it for me at all. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's one of those things too that Gordon did say about doing that method of the end of the mash was you may have to bump up the bill of those adjunct grains a little bit to get some more of that flavor. But
They're there. You got to look for them with your tongue, though.
Right. I think the biggest takeaway from it is that the astringency diminishes greatly
Yeah.
when you do either the cold steep or the late mash edition. So, that's kind of exactly what he said, and it's one of those things where it's different beers for different tastes. So, I'm glad I did it, and I appreciate all you guys coming out and trying the experiment with us. Happy Homebrew Wednesday, guys.